I got laid off, and I told Gerda, we're going to get married and we're going to move to DC, and she's like, oh, okay. And we got a job, but yeah, it would have gotten weird. It was getting weird, because I did this gig on this roof of this barn not too far from my school, and I was like running around with a microphone stuck up my butt, and there was a lot of people there, and I was an elementary school teacher, and I was like, oh my. So yeah, there was a couple of forays in the swimming pool with some high school girls that I'd rather forget about, but anyway. Yeah, it would have got weird eventually, and it's definitely, no, I don't know. I'm a phone man, so I still think about it, because some of the stuff Tesco Vee says on stage is pretty fucking out there, and a conservative health system that I work for, but, I'm a fucking phone man. What are you going to do, fire me? No, I shouldn't say that. We just had a lot of layoffs at work. But anyway, yeah, I definitely needed to get out of teaching, and the Michigan economy was more than happy to help me out. Any other questions? Just shoot. I'm easy.
Tell them about Fear and SNL.
Oh yeah. Anybody, you've seen The Fear on Saturday Night Live? I'm laying in Ian MacKay's basement, and his phone rings, and I don't know if you guys remember, some of you that are older, but there's this guy, Mr. Mike, who was this weird guy with a little beard in early years. Mr. Mike called Ian MacKay and said, Belushi wants slam dancers. I was like, okay. So he looked at me, you game? Sure. Just happened to be that a bunch of people, I think it was the same, might have been the same time that the Process of Elimination tour was going on, so Negative Approach, the Necros, we were all there, along with Harley Flanagan from the Cro-Mags and Sap from Iron Cross, and just anybody. It was like a who's who of punk rock at the time. So we all descended on Studio A or whatever it is, and they had a dress rehearsal. And so, yeah, they had a slam dancing dress rehearsal. And a $60,000 camera got knocked over. And that's a $60,000 camera in 1980, okay, so they were like, it's off, it's off. Well, Belushi carried a lot of weight, even though he was, a drug bag. And so he got, no, it's on again. We were all up in the room, the green room, looking over the studio. Somebody brought in a big box of 45s, so we were shoving 45s in the acoustic tile ceiling, and the people were getting mohawks cut, and just making a mess. Just trying to, it was just like, you know what, you guys, I'm the school teacher. I'm like, hey, you know what, these guys are making a mess. What the hell? So, anyway, if you watch that footage, in the stage right, this big, tall, geeky-looking bastard comes walking, and that's me, and I'm like, we're not worthy to leaving. Well, within a minute, I was just mortified and embarrassed, because people that have never done a stage dive in their life were running across the stage, ripping out guitar chords, knocking over mics, and I just split. But the best part of it all is John Brannon, as they cut to commercial, the microphone was laying on the stage. He grabbed it, and this went out over national TV, because I still have the original beta that my wife sat back in Lansing and made. He says, Negative Approach is gonna fuck you up. That went out over network TV, and I'm like, oh my God, that is so cool. Just before they cut. And they refused, they never would, you know how they've always replayed those old musical clips? That one is you'll never see that one. You'll see it on the internet, but it's never part of any SNL greatest musical moments. But yeah, that was a good one.
So
thank you for that anecdote. Yeah.
So I understand John Brannon being one of the great punk rock guys. Is there any other reason why he made the cover and not one of the other covers? Why John Brannon versus the first issue?
Yeah, good question. Because I thought there were some people that thought the Henry and Ian, where Henry's slipping him off, was good, but I just thought that this sort of embodied the sort of Midwest ethos, because John Brannon is still he's still hey, super cool guy. He's like this, I call him the mayor of Detroit hardcore, but he works in a kitchen by day, so he's still real and he's still roots. And I just thought, him standing there with a rotting t-shirt on, just sort of embodied what the magazine stood for. And it was a Midwest magazine, even though we featured other areas of the country. And if you're really into trivia, I don't know if anybody spotted the Don Van Vliet graffiti behind him on the wall, a little Captain Beefheart nod. So yeah, the Freezer Theater was fucking crazy. I mean, it was an illegal squat, you know, the extension cords running through the wall for power, and a hole in the women's bathroom, just a parade of guys all watching the girls pee while Minor Threat's playing. You know, there's like these Misfits are playing these shows that people would kill to see now, and they're watching girls pee through a hole in the wall. It's like, anyway. The Midwest scene was tiny. I mean, there was probably not more than, from the whole state of Michigan, more than a couple hundred kids, but you put them all in one room and you had some legendary events. The DC scene was a little bit more centered, but that was a great scene too. You had your alcoholic band, Black Market Baby. You had your straight edge bands like Minor Threat. You had your heavy metal band, The Obsessed, and everybody like accepted everybody. I mean, it wasn't like ear metal. You know, Wino was right there with the Leather and Studs crowd and his long hair, and so it was just. I picked a perfect time to get the fuck out of Michigan and go to where the scene was. Not that Michigan was dying off, but the DC. I'm really glad I was a part of that, because some of the shows, to me, Minor Threat, pound for pound, was the greatest punk band ever. Just my personal opinion. Just they all hated each other with a passion, and when they got on stage, it just like that vitriol would just manifested itself in some of the greatest performances. I mean, Ian was just, I mean, you've seen the videos, he's just commanded the crowd, commanded your attention like nobody I've ever seen. Their studio output, to me, didn't really come close to capturing the live fury of Minor Threat. So this gentleman asked me about how the DC scene reacted to me, and do I keep in touch with people? I think it was you, or you. Yeah. They always kept me kind of at arm's length, because the DC scene's always been kind of incestuous and cloistered, and I was like this, you know, freewheeling fuckwad. It was, you know, doing the Blow Me Jaw song with the fake joint and the dyed mop on my head. I'm surprised I didn't get killed. I'm surprised.
Hard to get